Question number 2 on your quiz says, what is the distance from the point indicated by the arrow and 0? When you see a problem that uses words like distance from and 0, you want your mind to automatically identify the problem as an absolute value problem. Remember, the absolute value refers to distance, which is always going to be positive. So if you, for instance, drive in the wrong direction for 5 miles, that doesn't mean that you would represent that distance with a negative 5 miles, because it's impossible. You'd still traveled 5 miles or positive 5 miles, just in the wrong direction. That's kind of what occurs on the number line. We might travel into negative numbers, but the distance to get there is going to be represented by a positive number. So if I started out at 0 and landed on -1, I have to travel a positive 1 unit. So let's travel to the point that they indicated on this number line. 1, 2, 3, and then not quite all the way to 4. It's halfway between -3 and -4. So 3.5. We traveled a positive 3.5. We might have landed on a -3.5, but the distance traveled to get there was positive 3.5. So our answer would be here, 3.5. Don't be confused and choose -3.5, because that is the point that's labeled, but that's not what the question is asking us. And then these two could be thrown in there just to throw you off, and that's because we're used to counting positive numbers, and your mind wants to instantly count 4, 4.5. But just remember that you're looking at the point that falls between -3 and -4, and halfway between -3 and -4 is going to be -3.5. The distance traveled to get there is going to be positive 3.5. Now, there is a way to find the distance between 2 points using a formula, and that it doesn't matter if we travel from here to here or here to here, our distance is going to be the same. So that the points that we are dealing with are this 0 and this -3.5. -3.5 and 0. Now the formula that you would use would fall in these things called absolute value bars, and you just want to take point A and subtract point B from it. Like I said, you can start with either one. We'll just throw this -3.5, -3.5, and subtract 0. Now, -3.5 minus 0 is just going to give us -3.5. Bring down those absolute value bars. And what those tell us, again, is just that anything that's inside these absolute value bars, once we solve that problem, these will apply to this number and make whatever this answer is positive. So when we apply these bars to that negative, it takes that away, and we get positive 3.5.